what is it that I need to do with this precious life? Like, I have freedom right now. I have time. I have not a lot of money, but I can get somewhere. I can make a move or two here. What is it that I want to do? The whole world is open to me. And the answers that came to me were, I need to spread loving kindness and I need to be of service. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I know what I want it to feel like. So my life at that moment shifted for me to be just to dedicate my life to service to others and to loving kindness, to metta.
Welcome back to Full-Time Yoga Teacher Podcasts. My name is Reika and I am your host. I hope you're having a great day as you listen to this podcast episode today. I have an exciting episode for you today. I interviewed someone named Will, and Will was recommended that I interview from Amy. If you remember Amy from one of the first episodes that I released, Amy was a yoga teacher from United States who lived in Colombia and then eventually moved to Southeast Asia. And at the time of the interview, she was living in Laos as a full-time yoga teacher. I think currently she is in Nepal, but she was also working and teaching yoga in Thailand right before she went to Nepal. All this to say that she has recommended that I reach out to Will and interview Will because she met Will when she was applying for a teaching job in Thailand. And Will owns a yoga retreat center in Chiang Mai in Thailand. And he's been running and leading a teacher training as well as yoga retreats here for quite some time. He has actually built the retreat center from the ground up. And I think it's such a great and interesting journey and story to hear. If anyone's ever interested in opening your own yoga retreat center or building your own, if you're interested in being a traveling yoga teacher or live in another country and want to start a business like this, I think this conversation is going to be very valuable for you. What I took away from the conversation I had with Will is that I love that he went for it. You know, if I was foreigner in another country and had a dream of wanting to start a yoga retreat center, there's just so much barriers. There's a lot of hurdles you have to jump through and a lot of work and a lot of research that has to go into actually legally opening a retreat center, but also navigating actually building the retreat center from the ground up. He had a lot of help from volunteers, from Workaway, and he made his dream come true. And I think another great takeaway is that it wasn't always easy. It was tough, and he did go through quite a challenge time in the beginning, but then his vision really started to come to fruition. His retreat center started to sell out and people started to come to the retreat center. They know about this retreat center, and I just love that he pursued his vision and his dream, and he is still doing that today. And he have created a life for himself that was once his dream, and he did it. As well as he did it with values. He really wanted to make sure his business and the way he lived his life was in alignment with his values and morals. And I think that is something respectable and something I really inspired to. So I'm just so excited and happy to share his story, his journey of how he ended up opening a retreat center in Thailand. So let me tell you a little bit about Will. Will is the founder and director of Suan Sati Yoga Retreat Center in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Originally from Washington State, Will has been living in Thailand for nearly a decade, with most of that time spent molding Suan Sati into the leading retreat center in Northern Thailand. He has taken the scenic route through life in his nearly 15 years living abroad. Throughout the instability of living an unconventional life, Buddhism and yoga have kept him grounded and inspired. I hope you will be inspired from this conversation I had with Will. He has this very calming, grounding energy to him when you hear his voice. And it's very soothing, and I am very interested in one day visiting Chiang Mai and attending his retreat center. So I hope one day I can take his class and learn from him as well. And I hope you can be very inspired from his journey as much as I was. So I will speak to you on the other side, and enjoy this interview. Welcome, Will, for coming to join me on the Full-Time Yoga Teacher podcast. I'm so excited that I get to have this conversation with you today. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for hosting me. I'm excited to have this conversation with you as well, and to dig into a conversation with a fellow yoga teacher.
Yes. Well, tell the listener, where are you joining from today?
Today, I am joining from just outside Salzburg, Austria. My wife is Austrian, and we live here about half the year, and the other half of the year we live in Thailand, where we own and operate a yoga retreat center.
That sounds amazing. Where in Thailand do you own a retreat center?
Our retreat center is in Northern Thailand in Chiang Mai. So we're about 45 minutes outside of the city, nestled into the foothills of some rolling mountains and surrounded by rice fields. It's quite idyllic.
That sounds so amazing. My father lives in Thailand. He lives in Bangkok. So I definitely always have an excuse to go visit Thailand. So maybe next time I'll definitely want to come visit Chiang Mai or your retreat center near it. I never been to Chiang Mai before. So is it a big city?
Chiang Mai is a medium-sized city. It's got an old city, which is 1 mile square on each side, surrounded by a moat. And there's some sprawl. And it's quite a touristic city. And we like to have access to the city. It's nice. It's got lots of cute restaurants and cafes. But we also like to have our space by being about 45 minutes away out in the rice fields.
Yeah. Well, I want to know all about how you ended up living there and owning a retreat center. But before all that question, I want to back up and ask, where are you from originally?
Good question. So I am American, and I claim Washington State as the place that I'm from. I've been living East Coast, West Coast, down south. So I've kind of been all over, but Washington State is my home base and where I go back to when I visit the States.
I see. And is that where you started practicing yoga? Was that in Washington State?
No, I started practicing actually in Chiang Mai, and this was quite a long time ago now. So I guess I started in about 2011. My first yoga class was in a fitness gym, and I was just half dragged there by my partner at the time. She was a former ballerina, incredibly bendy. And so the first few classes I went to, I'm trying to follow. And let me tell you, I was that typical guy, first timer in a yoga class, like in basketball shorts, like just super sweaty, not knowing what I'm doing at all. And so I'm looking at her, and she is doing, again, incredibly flexible. And so I thought, I guess this isn't for me, because this is the body type that looks like is successful in yoga. So I only did a few classes, and after that, it fell off to the side.
I can very much relate with practicing yoga with a room full of other students who are so bendy and flexible and can do these amazing poses. I played sports growing up. I played basketball growing up. So I definitely have a tighter body compared to other yoga teachers out there. And, I came a long way, but I'm still tighter than most, very typical bendy yoga teachers out there. And I think I have come to a place where I can really honor it and accept that. And it was still, feel very good about and content about it. But definitely in the beginning, it was really difficult to comparing myself to others, because everybody's so bendy, especially people who decide to become a yoga teacher tend to be very bendy.
Yeah, I resonate with that a lot. Actually, I was also a basketball player all the way up through university days. So,
Where did
we'll have
you play?
So I played at a couple of small schools in my home state in Washington State, at the community college level, and then at the Division III level. I was a late bloomer, and quite short. I'm 6'2", so quite short for, for basketball. But yeah, what I lacked in skill and height, I made up for with, just effort. And
Yeah.
I took that into the yoga practice as well. I do have a competitive streak. And so when I actually decided to take yoga seriously, I thought I can't do what everyone else can do, but what I can do is I can work really hard. Mm-hmm. And that's of course changed and morphed throughout the years. You have to take a different approach to yoga than to other physical disciplines. We're not just sacrificing our body to be the best we can for some competition, for example.
Yeah.
And my goal is to be able to practice yoga until I'm old and ripe. And that doesn't work with sacrificing your body to try to do a pose today.
Yeah, I totally agree, because I think part of me, when I was starting to practice, felt like, okay, if I practice hard enough, I'm going to become more bendy and I can achieve these, quote unquote, fancy advanced poses, right? And I think the longer I studied and practiced and take different continuing education on different anatomy and body mechanics, I'm learning that there's going to be a certain, and I'm also practicing in my body, I'm learning that there's a limit to how far I can go in my body in terms of flexibility and mobility. And if I ever try to go push myself further than that, then I get injured. So I'm coming to a place where I'm very content and I don't need to go further. That's going to probably hurt my body by trying to go further, and really trying to harness a practice that is, like you said, that I can continue to practice until I'm much older. So more softer and kinder approach to practice, which was difficult in the beginning, coming from competitive sports background. You just want to push yourself and really go hard. But when you were playing basketball, what position did you play?
Yes, so I actually played power forward, which I know I'm really short for that. But I was very crafty, and my arms are incredibly long. So I'm 6'2", but my arms are nearly 6'10", and I used to be able to jump quite high. So I would sneak up on people with my athleticism and sneakiness. That was my position. And then of course, the higher the level you go, then it's just, I just did not have the size for that. What about you? What position did you play?
I played guard, and I was a starting guard, but then the backup point guard if they needed to give the main point guard a rest. I'm also not very tall. I'm 5'6". But with that long arms, all I can think about is probably jump through in yoga, or some kind of certain arm balances will probably come easier to you than others.
Yeah, it's interesting you were talking about, where we have to practice in the body that we have.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain things for me that come very easy. Mm-hmm. And things like a jump through or some of the binds. I could wake up, totally cold, not having practiced for a week, and I can pretty much do every bind in the book just because my arms just allow me to do that. Other things can be more challenging. But everybody's body is different, and you're going to have different things that you're more adept at naturally based on your body's attributes. And that's one thing that reminds me that people probably look at me and think, oh, wow, the practice is, easy for him, when they see me doing a certain few poses that I'm proficient at. And it goes the other way as well. So just keep your eyes on your own mat. And if you're looking at somebody else, take inspiration.
Yeah. So true. I feel like our certain poses comes easier for certain body types than other. And certain poses are a little bit more challenging. And I think honoring and embracing the differences I think it's important. I feel like back in the day, there used to be more, I feel like there were more misconception on if you work hard enough, you can get there, or if you stretch more, then you can get there. Whereas I feel I'm a little bit more, okay, everyone's going to be different. Certain pose, I may not be able to do it in the way that it's shown in the picture or magazine. But I feel like everybody can find their version of the pose in the body that they're born into. So I love talking about this topic. But I want to know, when you said your first yoga class was in Chiang Mai in Thailand. So what led you to Thailand 2011?
Long story short, I went there to teach English as a second language. I had been a recent university graduate and I didn't have any job that was really speaking to me, any reason to stay in my hometown, or I just didn't have any job prospects really. I graduated in 2009 at the height of the financial crisis. And it's like, which financial crisis? Here we are in 2024. But yeah, there was a big economic downturn then, and jobs were very scarce. So I thought, all right, well, what's out there? And one thing that I was interested in was travel. I didn't get to travel very much when I was younger in high school and college, because basketball just took up so much space in my life. And my sister did semester abroad in Prague and was in India and Israel and South Africa. I mean, she was all over the place. And I wish that I had that experience too, to a certain degree in university. And so when I graduated, and I didn't have any job calling out to me, I thought, well, why not Thailand? Why not go abroad and just have an adventure? And so here it is, almost 14 years later. It has been quite the adventure. Lots of twists and turns, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Even though there's been long periods of instability, uncertainty. The life that I have now, the life that I've created based on my values, is one that I wouldn't trade for any amount of stability and security.
So initially teaching English is what brought you to Thailand, and it seems like you ended up staying. Once you started taking yoga class when you lived in Thailand, when did you feel the urge, or when was the seed planted in your mind that you wanted to become a yoga teacher?
I went through a breakup, a lot of yoga origin stories. Start with some kind of trauma, relationship drama kind of thing. I was going through a breakup, and I decided that I wanted to investigate Buddhism deeper. And so I had, at this point, I had lived in Thailand for 2 years, and I had just dabbled in yoga. So I thought, what better way to learn than to go to a 10-day meditation retreat? So that's what I did. I went to a meditation retreat in Koh Phangan, an island in southern Thailand. And those 10 days there, they gave me so much. I realized that there was something valuable here in this practice of meditation. There was also yoga. There was asana during the meditation retreats. And this was like balm for my body and my soul, but my body felt like it was on fire from all of that sitting for 10 days straight. So in that moment, I made the connection that yoga is just another place for me to practice mindfulness. It's, you can say, a moving meditation, but in Buddhist, meditation philosophy, you can practice in any position: standing, sitting, walking, lying down. So every moment is an opportunity to practice. And in that moment, I realized that that's the link for me between these two practices, is yoga is just another mindfulness practice for me. When I decided that I wanted to teach, that was, I guess it didn't come until a couple of years later. I was dabbling in yoga a bit and kind of more serious about the meditation practice. About 2 years later, I was traveling in Central America, and I began to just share the practice of meditation, not as any formal, yoga meditation teacher, but people were interested in what I had gained and what I had learned in Southeast Asia. And so I just informally began teaching meditation at a hostel I was staying at. And I thought, I really enjoy this teaching aspect of it. And around that same time, at that hostel I was staying at, there was yoga being offered. And I decided to sign up for a 1-month yoga and permaculture retreat. That was in Guatemala. And again, I was reminded that there's the connection there. It's the mindfulness in motion of the yoga practice that really drew me in. At that retreat that I went to, I saw that there was all different types of bodies, all different types of intentions. It wasn't just this stereotypical yoga body that I was so used to seeing. And here is where I found my bridge to this practice. before it felt like yoga is over here and I'm kind of over here, and the two never shall meet. At that retreat, I immersed myself for 1 month, and that's when I realized, like, I want to share mindfulness, and yoga can be a vehicle for me to do that. I feel confident in my ability to teach. I've been a teacher of many subjects before: English, at that point, a little bit of meditation, basketball. And so I thought, let me dive deep into this and see what fruits can come from me investing in my own education in this topic, which I find so fascinating, so so beneficial for myself and hopefully for others.
Wow. So what brought you to South and Central America from Thailand? Were you kind of like, we teach few years and then like travel or teach and then travel, kind of doing back and forth?
I just wanted to see the whole world. And at that point, I had done a 1-year trip through South and Southeast Asia. And then I went to work in Australia for a year on working holiday. Mm-hmm. And then I made enough money there to travel for what ended up being 2 years. I was dating somebody at the time, and I was particularly interested in the Middle East and Central Asia, going across the Silk Road. And she was interested in going to Central and South America. So we compromised and we went to Central and South America, and we didn't go to where I wanted to go. So yeah, that's what landed me there. It was just this desire and curiosity to explore the world and see what's around the corner. Yeah. I still have that to a large degree. It's just changed a bit throughout the years. I don't find myself needing to tick countries off the list anymore. And that again, I felt like was part of my competitive nature. Was like, you've been to this many countries, I want to go to that many countries plus one. And also I don't feel this need to like go as wide to a larger number of countries, but I'm more interested in going deeper into the countries that I do go into. So I definitely align myself with this slow travel movement where I might go somewhere, I might go to a country and only spend time in like 2 or 3 different locations. It's just, for me at this point in my life, it's just more, it gives me more, it's more fruitful for the depth of experience rather than just ticking destinations off a list without actually interacting with them beyond a superficial level.
Yeah. I can definitely relate, because if you can stay in a place for a couple months, you really get to learn about the culture. You might be able to build some relationship with the people that you're living close to. And there's a lot more depth to the experience and the relationship you build, for sure. But it seems like you were able to really build a life that you wanted. But okay, before we get there, I want to say, where in Guatemala was your 1-month retreat that you've done?
Yeah, that was at Lago Atitlan. So Atitlan is such a well-known place for yoga and spirituality. Yeah. So it was in San Marcos. That's at a place called the Yoga Forest, which is it's now changed hands since I was there in 2012, I guess, 2013. It's still a magical place with a very special energy on this lake.
Yeah. I think I was there 2013 as well. And I've seen photos of the place now when somebody I know go visit and they post about it on social media. It seems like it has grown a lot for good. And maybe, I'm sure there's also challenges that come with so much growth in tourism there. But definitely San Marcos, I remember, was like more of like a spiritual yoga hippie hub for Lago de Atitlan. Okay, so you did the 1-month retreat that made you kind of realize you wanted to become a teacher. And what next? Where and when did you do your first teacher training?
Right. So at the end of this 1-month retreat, with all of the clarity that I had gained from this time, I decided that it was time to end the relationship that I was in. And so I decided, like, I don't feel the call to be in Central and South America right now. So I need to go back to Asia. Asia's calling me. So as I sat down for 2 weeks, I sat down in Nicaragua for 2 weeks at Lake Ometepe or Isla Ometepe. And I thought, okay, what is it that I need to do with this precious life? Like, I have freedom right now. I have time. I have not a lot of money, but I can get somewhere. I can make a move or two here. What is it that I want to do? The whole world is open to me. And the answers that came to me were, I need to spread loving kindness and I need to be of service. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I know what I want it to feel like. So my life at that moment shifted for me to be, just to dedicate my life to service to others and to loving kindness, to metta. What practical steps can I take with that? In those 2 weeks I was sitting down there at Ometepe, I thought, okay, I want to go back to Thailand to do a Thai massage course. I want to heal people with my hands. And I think I want to do a yoga teacher training course. So I'm going to go to India to do that. So that's what I did. And so this, from the time I made that decision to the time that I decided to do my teacher training course was just 6 months. A lot happened in those 6 months. 3 months in, I went to do this massage training for 1 month. And during that month that I was there, that was in Chiang Mai, where I had previously lived there teaching English in Chiang Mai. So coming back there 3-4 years later, I was having lunch with a friend. We were by the riverside. And we were just talking about life, big transitions. I was going through one. She was going through one. And she said, well, what do you want to do? Like you're going to do this massage course, this yoga teacher training course. And then what? I'm like, I don't know, but I want to try and craft a life for myself that combines these different elements that I'm interested in: yoga, meditation, community living, healthy eating, like permaculture. How do I pull all of these things together into one lifestyle? And then it kind of dawned on me, well, maybe it's a retreat center. Maybe that's what I'm being called to do right now. So I thought, there's no way this is going to happen. It's too far fetched. There's just so many obstacles. It's just never going to happen. But my friend encouraged me, well, just check it out. Just see if it's possible. So I said, okay, there's no harm in taking a meeting with a lawyer. I went to talk with a lawyer in Chiang Mai to see, okay, what are the barriers to entry here for business? What do I need to do? And he gave me a list of things. And I said, oh, well, okay, I think I can manage that. Second thing was, okay, can I get some money together to make this happen? So I kind of called up my network and kind of got a number, like what can I beg, borrow, and steal from from family and friends. So I came up with, a little bit of money. At this point, when I look back, it was like, that was not enough money, but that's that's coming later in the story. And then the third thing was, well, can we find a place to do this? And my friend knew somebody who had some land that they weren't doing anything with, and they would rent it to us for an incredibly cheap price. So when I heard all of those things, I thought, okay, well, I came into this thinking it's not going to work. And I kept on getting green lights. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe this is supposed to happen. Maybe this is it for me. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I just kept taking step after step after step, thinking at some point someone's going to come and say, you can't do this. You don't have a right to be here. There's something is going to stop you. And nothing has stopped me. And now it's 8 years later and we're still going. I still get that feeling in the back of my head sometimes, but, a lot of people I feel like are like me, just kind of winging it. And that any confidence I have, comes from like, I've just done this for so many years now. And we've just snowballed into this thing that I never could have imagined that it would have gotten this big in the beginning. Now, what, the next steps after this, talking with this friend and getting this idea together, that was, I did the yoga teacher training in Goa. And I feel like I was probably the only one in the training that knew that they had a job, quote unquote, like job lined up, or they knew where they were going to go with their yoga teacher training after the course. I never saw myself as a lead teacher. I thought I just want to get some experience and learn learn the art and the science of yoga and teaching yoga. That way I at least know what to look for when I'm hiring teachers. 6 months later, we opened, and for the first 6 months, we were a volunteer project as we were building up this project. And I was teaching the volunteers. That was my first real experience teaching yoga, was the volunteers that were coming, helping us, build, clean. We had a whole little mini village there. And so this was such a great place for me to gain experience because it's so low pressure. They're not paying. It's kind of a captive audience. So yeah. And then at the end of those 6 months, I had developed my skill to a degree where I thought, I might not ever be the most experienced, skilled yoga teacher at the center, but I can do this. I feel like I'm getting good feedback, and I'm dedicated to my own practice and to my craft. I think I can do this. I can be a teacher. So I never started out thinking I'm going to be one of the lead teachers, but I just took one step at a time, and that confidence, skill, experience built up with time.
Wow. I have so many follow-up questions. First of all, so you had a vision of, or a dream or a, vision of starting a retreat center that you can combine all of your love and passion of like mindfulness, meditation, yoga, health, wellness. So that vision came before you took your first 200, even though you already had that plan, but it was before. And then you went to India, Goa to take your 200-hour teacher training. I was actually in Goa last year, January. Yeah, it was a great experience. Do you remember where in Goa your training was?
Yeah, it was in South Goa. So Agonda, Halolem, that area.
Okay. And I guess a little bit more question about your 200. Was it like a 1 month intensive? How long was your training?
Yes, it was 4 weeks. It was multi-style. First week, Ashtanga, then second week, Hatha, third week, Vinyasa. I chose this school based on a friend's recommendation who had taught there before. So that's how I found this teacher training course. It was cool, I didn't do very much research on it.
But were you happy with your experience?
This is a longer conversation, but to keep it short, when I think that a lot of people who do 200-hour trainings, it's hard to discern whether it was quality or not because you don't have anything to compare it to. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people, when they finish their course, their feedback is going to be based on whether they had a good time and whether they learned something. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much a given in this kind of situation, unless something goes, very, very wrong. Mm-hmm. Looking back and after having done many teacher training courses now, as a student, the quality wasn't all the way there. Mm-hmm. There wasn't consistency of teachers. The teachers were changing every month. They were underpaid, mm-hmm. Overworked. It was more felt like like a TTC factory, than in a business rather than a school that was of the highest educational quality. Yeah. It is what it is. It was my starting point. I say all that to say this. Mm-hmm. People who are looking for a 200-hour teacher training course, I think it's really important to practice with the teachers who are going to be leading you through that experience. I think it's important to look at the curriculum. What are they teaching? Is that aligned with what you want to learn? I went into it blind, and that's something I wouldn't really recommend to anybody. I looked at the price. That was one thing I looked at. The location, and they had a halfway decent website, and I was sold. I should have done more research, and so I encourage people who are looking for those courses like this. You can get the money back, but you can never get that time back, and so spend that time wisely as you can, in a course that is aligned with what it is that you are interested in
Mm-hmm.
and with teachers who are, who have, who can be kind of like in a mentor role for you.
Mm-hmm.
People who have experience teaching in the environment that you might want to teach in.
Yeah.
I say that to, what I mean is, if you're at a school that's a TTC factory, they might not have experience teaching drop-in classes. Like, do you want to teach drop-in classes? Then maybe do a training with somebody who has experience teaching drop-in classes, and not just only in the teacher training environment, which is very different than the real world of teaching out there, teaching drop-in classes, for example.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I made one of the episode I recorded was about my experience of my 200 and 300, and then also what are some questions that you can ask yourself before you decide to sign up for one. So definitely, and I think we have a better understanding or view of it now, just because we both have gone through it. So now we're like, okay, in hindsight, like I should have looked for this and this and this. So I think what we can do is kind of share that knowledge with other teachers who's looking for 200, and hopefully they can make a better decision than what some of us did. I was pretty happy with my 200 and 300, but I've seen many bad teacher trainings out there. And I also been part of teacher training that wasn't that great. Like, I'll go teach a module here and there. And I've been part of a really good one too. So I think it's, somebody like us who's been through it, and who've taught it many different teacher training, can offer that tips for other, younger teacher. I think that's a great resources for other teachers. So thank you for sharing that honest opinion about your 200 experience.
I have to say this though, like this teacher training course was probably the best decision of my life, because I met my wife there.
Well, that's where you met your wife. Okay. And and what happened after that? You moved back to Thailand to kind of continue on with this project of building a retreat center. And then did your wife join you to come to Thailand to do this?
Okay, so all right, I'll try and give like the shorter version. So we connected during the teacher training course, about halfway through, and we had this whirlwind romance for a couple weeks. I knew that I was going back to Thailand, and she was on this round the world trip, and so knowing that we were going in different directions after the course kind of took all the pressure off, and we never talked about the future. As she tells it, I was inviting everybody to come to Thailand except for her. After the course ended, I was like, it was really nice. You're an amazing woman. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your trip. And then about 3-4 weeks later, I hit her with that text like, so what are you doing? And she was in southern India at the time doing an Ayurveda course. And I said, hey, I'm actually coming back to India. Maybe we can meet up and travel a bit. And if you want to, you can come over to Thailand and spend some time and see what it's like over there. It's going to be Thai New Year, and it's a fun festivity. So yeah, that's kind of how we started out. And then from that point, she came to Thailand with me, and we took it again. We took the pressure off of of the relationship by not really talking so much about the future. We really took it one visa at a time. She was on a tourist visa for a while, and it would be really 30 days at a time, 60 days at a time. She went to Bali. She went to Bali for a month or 2 months, somewhere in there, and she took all of her stuff with her to Bali because she wasn't sure if she was going to come back. And then about, I guess, 6 months doing it like that, then we said, okay, well, I think we really care about each other. Let's try and make this work. And yes, that's kind of the backstory to our romance that sparked at the teacher training course.
That's so wonderful. I love hearing that. So when you are building your retreat center, you said you had a lot of volunteers. Are you renting the land, or you bought the land and then you built your retreat center on it?
Okay, so we rented this piece of land, and again, this was a sweetheart of a deal. I mean, Thailand is affordable to rent, but this was incredibly affordable. The friend of a friend, she gave me this. She knew that we were starting out with an incredibly low budget. I mean, really, the budget that we started with probably couldn't buy a mid-size SUV in today's market. And so I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what everything was going to cost. I didn't know how hard it was going to be. And if I would have known what I know now then, as far as how hard it was going to be, I probably wouldn't have done it, because I didn't think it was going to be that challenging. Knowing the effect that it has, would I go through all that difficulty? Absolutely. 100 times out of 100, like for sure, because of everything that has come from this project. But at that point, at the starting point, I didn't know it was going to be this hard. So we, again, severely underfunded, everything we did the hard way. Like it was just, we didn't know where to get things, Yeah, it was a bit of a mess, but we were all in the same boat together. We had volunteers who were just really amazing, really committed, and inspired by the vision that I had, which was to create a affordable, inclusive retreat center for people of all different backgrounds here in Northern Thailand. So that's, so we had this land rented for a 9-year contract. Really like $150 per month. So that allowed us the space to get things up and running, without a lot of overhead.
That's amazing. $150 a month.
Yeah. It's 2 acres.
Wow. You were building, and were you using like Workaway, Woofing, those kind of things to find your volunteers to come and stay and work on your retreat center?
Yeah, absolutely. Mostly Workaway. Our advertisement there went viral. And so, we got an avalanche of people wanting to come work with us. And so we probably accepted less than 10% of people who applied to volunteer with us. And we asked for a 2-week commitment, and it was like five days of work per week with, 3 or 4 hours a day. And we really were just this little community out there in the middle of the jungle in Northern Thailand. It was, those were, I told people all the time during those first 6 months, this could be the best time. Like it's not like once we get to opening, then that's when the good times start. Like it might never be better than this, because like you just don't know what's on the other side of it. And so enjoy every moment. Mm-hmm. And I really look back fondly on those times when, we used to sleep in this open air house. Like it had one wall, three sides, no walls. We used to sleep in hammocks on these little Thai mattresses on the ground, sleeping, it was, lots of bugs. But the people that we got there were just so committed and inspiring that these really were some of the best days of my life, and theirs too, we still in contact. I'm still in contact with a lot of them.
That's so beautiful. And I'm sure, they were, like you said, they were inspired by your vision and your, the vision you had for this retreat center. So how long did it take for the retreat center to finish?
It took about 6 months for us to open. And really, we only opened because we ran out of money. So we started building in July, and then it got towards October, and I checked the bank account. I'm like, oh, we're not going to last very long like this. So we need to get some money coming through the door. And so I shifted hard into, let's devote our energy into getting the doors open here so that we get a few bungalows. We get the bathrooms finished, get a kitchen going. And so, we opened up on January 1st, 2017, ready or not. And luckily we had guests from the very first day, a couple, 1, 2 drips and drops. The first 6 months were really up and down. We tried a few different things. We did, a silent meditation retreat. We did some special intensives. And there were so many times when I really had just a few dollars, left. And the currency in Thailand is called baht. And I remember I would have a few thousand baht, and I would fold it over like as I was counting it and trying to fold it over again to see if I forgot something or if I could like make another couple thousand baht appear from the stack, this little wad that I had. I mean, we really were down to scraping the bottom of the barrel. And so knowing that struggle that we've been through makes the success so much sweeter. Because after about 6 months, we started to get consistently full. At that time, our capacity was like maybe 12 guests, added another bungalow, and then finally we were up to max capacity at about 20 guests. And so from about mid 2017 on to, I mean, from then on, we were pretty consistently fully booked.
That's amazing. And where were you, I guess, advertising or promoting for people to find your retreat center to come stay?
Mostly through social media. So I had some friends who very generously donated their expertise in social media marketing. Another friend who was an SEO specialist, and he got us, ranking on Google for the important terms. And we would drop flyers in the cafes and yoga studios around Chiang Mai. And then all the guests who had stayed with us when they left, we gave them some flyers to post in the different hostels and restaurants that they were going to. So most of it was actually word of mouth. And that's the most powerful marketing, is because people are communicating their personal experience with people that they think will also connect with what it is that we're offering. So nowadays we don't do any marketing. Our marketing budget is zero. And we're very fortunate because we stay full. I know it's not like that for a lot of businesses, but there's several different factors in that, but a lot of it, the biggest one is word of mouth and repeat customers.
So amazing to hear that. I know you said in the beginning it was slow to grow, but once it started growing, it seems like people really love the experience. That's why they share it with their friends or, their family, friends, or share it with on their business. And kind of that's how the word spread. So when you first started, I know you did some like meditation, 10-day meditation thing. And were you just welcoming any guests to come in and out as they please, or like, as they want to book? Or was it like, okay, from this day to this day, this, 10-day meditation retreat is happening and this is when you sign up? And then the other time it wasn't like you're not taking in client or I guess guests when there aren't any events or training happening?
So we do 3 different things at Suan Sati. And what we started with is the first 2 things that we started with were, we call it guest house style retreats. So people can come and go on any day that suits them. We have a 3-night minimum. And so the retreat program is the same day after day. As far as the structure of it, we'll have morning class, 2 classes per day, 3 meals per day, accommodation included, and 1 workshop per day. So that would just be an ongoing program. People can just drop in on it at any time. We do that during our low season, which is from May until the end of September. And that is when there's less tourists in Thailand, and that allows us to cast a broader net. So if you can only come for 3 nights, that's okay. Come. If you want to come for a week or 2 weeks, great. Come, we'll take care of you. In the winter, we shift. The second thing we do is in the winter, we shift to our winter retreat program. This is the time when there's more tourists in Thailand, and this is from November until the end of February. And at that time, we do set retreats where everyone comes and leaves on the same day. It's 6 days, 5 nights. So we'll do that throughout the winter, and in between those retreats, we'll take either 2 or 3 days off to rest and recharge. And so we'll go straight through and do 16 of those in a row. That can be a bit of a challenge energetically. For me, I have a high tolerance for that. For others, we'll sometimes take teachers who can do like 8 retreats in a row, 6 retreats, 8 retreats in a row, but it is a big energetic output. But as the saying goes in English, make hay when the sun shines. So that's high season. And so we try and maximize that.
Yeah. And those retreats are the teacher training. Is that what you said?
No. So teacher trainings are the third thing that we do. And so we do those twice per year, June and October. During those times we shut down the retreat program, and then we just have the teacher training students there. So that's 4 weeks, 200 hours. And we do those twice per year. So what we do, it's as a teacher, it gives us this variety that keeps things from getting stale. So we teach the guest house retreats, we teach the winter retreats, which are like one cohesive package. And then the teacher training courses allow us to go to a level of detail that you can't often get to in like a one-off class experience, or sometimes even a 6-day retreat. That's an environment, the teacher training environment is one where people are really coming for that depth of knowledge, not just the superficial. So those different programs, they're rewarding in their own way. And they also provide this diversity that keeps things fresh for us as teachers.
Yeah, I love that. And even the teacher training, you are able to find enough students to register and sign up without too much effort on promotion or advertising?
Yes, we are incredibly fortunate in that our business model provides a lot of turnover. So we see a lot of different students over, or guests over the year. So we might see like over 1,000 guests per year. Mm-hmm. And so if our max capacity at our teacher training course is 20, the numbers are in our favor. Mm-hmm. On top of that, we have our former students, our former guests, recommending us to those that are looking for a training. And then we get some organic inquiries just from people emailing us, seeing us on Google or different platforms. So yeah, that's what keeps our numbers pretty consistently full.
So amazing to hear that. And I know you said you kind of live partially in Chiang Mai, and right now you're in Europe and you do travel throughout the year a bit. So what's happening when you're not there, like right now?
When we're not there, we have teachers and a manager that keep things running for us, particularly during the guest house season. We, just by virtue of the way our family is growing, we've been here in Europe this will be our third summer in a row. I have a daughter who's just about to make 2. And then my wife is pregnant. She's due again in July. So we together as a family chose to have, to have the birth here. So that kind of pushed us to take a step back, because we had been there pretty consistently from, 2016 all the way up until the pandemic. So early 2020, when we closed, we would take breaks. We would take a month off here, 2 months off there. The pandemic and then having children gave us pause to take a step back and to disentangle ourselves a bit from the offering, from the package that we're presenting to our guests. It's in this type of setting, it's really easy to get for your personal identity to become intertwined with the identity of the business. And some of the best advice that I got from a friend at the very beginning was, you have to constantly be building yourself out to give yourself the possibility to do something different if you change how you feel about it. He said, if you don't, you're just building yourself a beautiful prison. And I took that advice to heart. And I want to be there. Like I do want to be there, honestly, like 12 months of the year, maybe 11 months of the year. And yet when I have the freedom to choose to be there or choose to be elsewhere, then it doesn't, that's not a prison to me. I'm not feeling the bars of that prison, because it's only a prison when you feel the bars. For so many years, like in the very beginning, I didn't feel those bars because, I didn't want to be anywhere else. And now when we want to have the baby here, or I want to go visit family, abroad, or in the States or something like that, we have that freedom because we've taken that step back. And we've delegated that, not only the responsibility, but also the vision of our space to those who we trust with everything.
Yeah, that's so amazing that you were able to, like you said, detangle yourself out, where you have people you trust who is working there, managing there, or teaching classes there, so that you and your family can, take this time to travel or go see family members in other places. And that giving you that freedom to do so, the choice, giving you the options to, stay there or being able to leave. I feel like I've seen a lot of studio owners, probably slightly different than retreat center owner, but who I can tell that they are kind of trapped in their business. They can't leave, or they have a hard time going on vacations, or, taking time off because new family member coming in, anything like that. They having hard time leaving just because they're so, if they leave, they're afraid the business is not going to run smoothly if they're not there. So I'm glad that you were able to create a situation where you could leave and have that option to go a couple months away in different locations. I have some questions. So you do have yoga teachers who come and teach at your retreat center, and do you tend to find them through Yoga Trade website, or is it like your previous students who come back? How do you find these teachers to come?
We rely heavily on Yoga Trade to find new teachers. I think it's a wonderful platform. Probably easier for me to say because as a employer, you don't have to pay for it. I hope that people are getting their value from it. We found some incredible teachers on there, including Amy. We love to bring our teachers back again. So we'll start teachers off during the guest house season usually, and then bring them back for the winter retreats if they're, if it's a good energetic match, which the winter retreats are paid at a higher rate. And then if we develop that relationship further, then we'll bring them back and have them teach on our teacher training courses. That's the way that's I think a natural progression through our organization, and also for yoga teachers out there is, so you start off, with your initial opportunity, and then how do you build that up into something that's going to be more economically viable for you. So but the thing about traveling yoga teachers is they travel and sometimes they don't always travel back to you. So we've had so many wonderful teachers over the years, and then some of them have just moved on to different things, or gone back home, or have started their own thing, or some of them have stopped teaching yoga, as happens sometimes. So those teachers who are the lifers, the long-termers like us that are abroad indefinitely, they don't have anything back at home, nothing to go back to. Those are the teachers that have been with us for many years, and that we've developed that deeper relationship with. But again, it's Yoga Trade, and sometimes word of mouth. That's where we find our teachers.
Amazing. And it's so nice to have develop some, relationship with some teachers who probably keep coming back every year to work with you. And
it's hard out there as a traveling yoga teacher, really, being international. It really is. There are a lot of opportunities out there, but it's hard to find community. That's one of the things. So when you're traveling around, sometimes you as the teacher are the only one who's kind of on this path and dedicated to it. And that can be hard to be like always trying to pull people into this. One thing that teachers really enjoy about our space is that it's built in. We have a community. We have at least three teachers there at all times. So you have support there with, brothers and sisters who are also dedicated to this path, and we can learn from each other in that way. A lot of the opportunities out there, especially in Southeast Asia, they're not great. The pay is not great, I should say. So it can be hard to make a living as a traveling yoga teacher unless you really lock into some rare opportunities. So again, it's normal that teachers at some point will just kind of phase out of this traveling yoga teacher lifestyle, which is sometimes staying in hostels, or it's not for everybody. It can be nice for a short period of time, but then I think it's just normal that if you don't find that opportunity that allows you to expand, to grow, to yeah, to make some money, then yeah, you're going to switch things up and you're going to take a different tack.
Yeah. I've been on Yoga Trade for quite some years. I always love checking different job postings. And yeah, you're right. I think a lot of them I see is usually like a volunteer work or trade. Not as many paid opportunities on there, and especially opportunity that pays well, like you said. Um, and I'm leaving to Peru tonight because through Yoga Trade, I got a teacher training job through, in Peru. So I'll be leaving tonight to head to Peru, and I'll be there for 4 months, which I'm really excited about. And that's an opportunity I found on Yoga Trade. And I feel like that was one of the more of a rare kind that they accommodated for everything and they paid the teacher pretty well. And similar to what you said, there'll be 3 teachers there working together the whole time, and that teachers kind of rotate every couple of months. So great to hear that you mentioned about the community, and I really look forward to meeting the other teachers there. Another question I have is about your teacher training program. What do you think is different or special about your teacher training program?
I think what's special about our program is that we also offer a multi-style approach, and so we'll teach mostly Hatha and Vinyasa. We have undercurrents of Yin and Bhakti yoga, which is something that we're all quite passionate about, the yoga of devotion of the heart. We, as a teaching team, have been doing this we've been doing trainings for 5 years. We've taken many trainings. We have other senior teachers with us that have been doing teacher training courses for over 10 years. So I think what makes us special is that we've seen what works and we've seen what doesn't work, and we've taken that feedback on board. And every course, I feel like we're just getting better and better at communicating those aspects of yoga to our students in a way that they can understand and apply in their lives. So it's this multi-style approach. It's this depth of personal experience as a student and as a teacher. And this desire to continually refine our offering. So I think those are probably the 3 top things that set us apart.
I love that. And you said you're also part of the teacher training. So you do teach like sections of it or majority of it. What's your involvement with the program?
So this year is the first year that we're not leading the teacher training programs, my wife and I, because we're here for the birth of our son. I specialize in the Hatha aspect of the training, so I'll lead us off. We open up with Hatha for the first 9 mornings. I'm a big anatomy geek, so my wife is the medical professional. She's a physiotherapist, so she leads the anatomy. I support that with the alignment, with all the alignment classes that we teach. I think the human body is a work of art, all of them. And, it's just so amazing. The more you learn about it, the more it just blows your mind. Mm-hmm. So I'm a big fan of it. And I'm also teaching philosophy, which is something that I'm just branching out into. It's something that I find endlessly fascinating, and yoga in general is just so incredibly broad. Yoga philosophy is so incredibly broad. I say this all the time in our teacher training courses. It's like every one little aspect of this philosophy that we share, you could expand upon, and it could be a doctoral thesis, right? So when we come together for a teacher training course, just to understand that this is just one small fraction of a huge mosaic of philosophy that we try and break down over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, over 20 to 30 hours. How can we communicate the essence of yoga in that short amount of time? With philosophy, with all of it, 200 hours is just the beginning. Mm-hmm. It is just the beginning. It's the entry level teacher training program. It is by no stretch of the imagination where your learning stops. What this does is it just opens up the door to to a hallway that's full of doors. So where you take it from there is up to you. And I encourage our students to find what it is that really brought them alive during the course and pursue that further. For me, it was hatha. I finished my training and I'm like, Ashtanga, maybe not. Philosophy, my head is swimming, but I really like hatha yoga practice. So I went to Rishikesh and I found an incredible teacher, and I practiced on the banks of the Ganges there with him for 8 weeks. And it was, really changed the trajectory of who I am as a teacher.
Oh, I love that. And yeah, it's definitely, I think 200 hours as just a beginning, and encouraging students to kind of keep pursuing continuing education, but keep pursuing. There's so many like roads you can take as a yoga teacher, so many things you can learn more about, deepen your knowledge on, or specialize in. And definitely I myself, same included, I just love learning so much. It just never ends. And also so great to hear that your wife is a physio, and that can bring so much depth to your teacher training. And I myself, I love anatomy and physiology and body mechanics. And I feel like same, it's never, human body is so amazing, and it's never ending how much you can keep learning about how our body works. So fascinating, and kind of tying it together to yoga and alignment and how we can sequence in a way. And yeah, I love all of that. So I feel like that definitely brings a beautiful depth to your teacher training, having a lot of great anatomy knowledge, because I do think a lot of teacher trainings are lacking in that. I feel like there aren't enough anatomy, or maybe they just bring somebody to come teach for like 3 hours and then that's it. So I love that your wife can really bring in depth knowledge about body and human and how they work. Another question I have is, where are most of your guests from? Are they a lot of them from Europe, Australia, North Americans, or do you also get a lot of Southeast Asians, Thai people? Like, what's the demographic of the people and the guests that come to your retreat center as well as take your trainings?
Most of our guests come from Europe, some from America, Canada, a couple here and there from Australia, New Zealand. And we do get a sprinkling of guests coming from Asia, which we love: Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Taiwan, some from China. So yeah, it's and from Thailand as well. It's most of that is, we are an affordable budget, eco-friendly center. And so I think that attracts a certain kind of person. We are not 5-star at all. That's not my intention. I've worked 5-star hospitality before, and that's not what I wanted to build. That for me is not as inclusive. So our when it comes to Thailand specifically, in Thailand, yoga is still a bit of something for like middle class, upper class. And so when people are thinking about yoga and going on a yoga retreat, I think a lot of them in Thailand anyways, they're thinking about a more upscale experience. And so I think that there are a lot of people who do yoga retreats, and Thai people who do yoga retreats in Thailand. But we don't get as many of those because they might tend to go to like a 5-star luxury retreat. The Thai guests that we do get are amazing, and they are so grounded and open, and we just connect on this level that includes culture, of course, but also transcends it. Because when we meet on the mat, when we meet with an open heart, there's a deeper level that we can get to that again, just like transcends all of those different things that could be artificial barriers between us. So that's one thing that I love about this center, is just being able to meet people from all different cultures, and especially from Thailand, where we are based, and we are this is the community that we're involved in, and meet people that we can relate to on that deeper level. Yeah.
And I love what you said about your values, the inclusivity and affordability. And you said your retreat center is not a 5-star at all and not even trying to be, because I feel like the retreat market out there, and maybe as living in Southern California, what I see is that, very high priced retreats or high priced fancy resorts. And it almost feels a little bit disconnected from yoga or disconnected from the actual land and country and the culture you're visiting to do this experience at, where I feel like when I really value accessibility in yoga in general, but also that inclusivity, and it feels almost unreachable for some people. Like myself, I never really attended a proper yoga retreat before, because I always feel like, oh my God, I could spend that money and travel for myself for 3 months instead of 10 days experience, So I really appreciate that that is your value of your retreat center, to keep it accessible and inclusive. So really appreciate that. And I want to ask a little bit about what's the situation with visa or owning a business there, hiring teachers to teach, and what kind of visa do you have to be able to live there for a long period of time? What is that like for you?
Visas in Thailand can be complicated. So here, the basic requirement for a foreigner to have a work visa and a work permit are you need to have that sponsored by a Thai company. And so we have a Thai company, and in that company, I am a 49% shareholder, and I have silent partners who are 51% shareholders together. So that's one requirement, is it has to be a Thai company with majority Thai ownership. The second requirement is that for every one foreigner you need to have 4 Thai employees. It can be a pain in the butt, but I actually respect that. And I think that's worthwhile, because if I'm coming in and I'm not hiring anybody, I'm not working with the local community and I'm only hiring foreigners, then I think I'm extracting wealth from this community without giving anything back. So fair enough. Now, the visa process can be quite long and convoluted. So yeah, it can take 4 months at least 4 months from day one until everything is done and dusted. So yeah, it's relatively affordable, I guess, but it just takes time. You need to have a visa agent to kind of guide things through. So ownership, yeah, that's kind of the ownership, is it has to be majority Thai owned. I'm the director of this company. I'm the only one who can, make decisions legally for this company. And yeah, I'm employed by the company in my role as a director. So that's how we work with ownership and visa requirements.
Thank you for sharing that. That's something I always thought about with, I know every country has their own rules, and sometimes it can be difficult to have a business or even hire a teacher to come in and pay them. So thank you for sharing that. And kind of wrapping up this interview, what are some things you learned along the way of this journey of, becoming a yoga teacher and starting your own retreat center? What are some advice or tips or nuggets you could share with the listener in terms of somebody who is just starting out? They don't know if they want to start a retreat center, but maybe somebody who's starting out in the yoga world, since you've been in it and you've been successfully working in this world for many years. What are some advices you can give them?
Yeah, one of the biggest pieces of advice that I give to people starting out, and it could be with, am I ready to do a yoga teacher training course? Am I ready to lead a retreat? Can I teach internationally? Where can I take this? Where can I take this yoga career, or really any endeavor? One of the biggest things that I learned is if you wait until you're ready to do something, you might never do that thing. Take the first step in faith and let the universe uplift you. If your vision is righteous and you're willing to work hard, then with a little luck and the right breaks going your way. I think that we can do a lot more than we think we can, given I know I am incredibly privileged to be in this position to even do this. So let's not frame this as just work hard and you can do anything. A lot of things had to go my way, including the country that I was born into, the family that I was born into. If you wait until you are totally ready, it's like there's all that finish line is always going to be one step ahead of you. It's like, okay, I need to be teaching for 2 years before I do this, or, I need to take this training from that teacher before I do that, or I just need this and that. Just go. I learned so many things along the way. I developed so many skills out of necessity. Like before I started this business, I didn't know how to do I didn't know how to create a website. I didn't know how to do social media marketing. I didn't know any of this stuff. All these different skills. I didn't really know how to teach yoga when I started this. I just took that first step, and through this process, step by step, making my mistakes and growing from those mistakes, letting these failures be learning experiences, growth opportunities, rather than dead ends or places where I would quit. Taking all that in stride, I have developed myself more than I could have ever dreamed in areas that I never would have expected if I would have waited until I said, okay, now I'm ready. Just go. Yeah, we are so much more powerful, so much wiser than we give ourselves credit for. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the people that you see that have achieved their dreams, or that you look up to, they don't have it all figured out. They really don't. They're just taking that step in faith. And you take enough steps in faith, then you have trust that as you take that next step, that the ground will hold you and support you as you move along your path.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Thank you for that advice. And what do you love the most about being a yoga teacher, full-time yoga teacher, and what do you find is the most challenging?
The thing that I love most about teaching yoga full-time is that every single day I get to encourage and witness people showing up as their authentic self. I love it. This is what brings me back again and again, is it doesn't matter what pose you can or can't do. I don't care. I really don't. But are you showing up for yourself? Not for anybody else, not for me, not for the other students in the class, but are you showing up for yourself authentically and being present with your process? And that's it for me, is just seeing people show up for themselves. That's inspiring. What I find most challenging about teaching yoga is, I wouldn't see it as a negative, but I've put pressure on myself to keep up my personal practice. Mm-hmm. I want to share something that's fresh and resonant with me. And I feel like if I'm not keeping up my personal practice, if I'm not continuing to invest in my education and trainings, then what I'm offering it's just repetition. It becomes stale. Mm-hmm. So the challenge for me is just continuing to step on the mat day in and day out and exploring my body, exploring my practice, exploring the non-physical elements of the practice as well, so that what I share has depth and resonance with my students.
I love it. Yeah, the importance of self-practice. And what does success mean to you?
Success to me is an internal rather than external metric. For me, success is being able to answer in the affirmative to the question, are you feeling the way that you desire to feel in this moment? It's not always a yes, but am I aligned with how I want to feel day in, day out? Are my actions aligned with that? So it's not some externalized, I want to have this or I want to be that. It's like, am I feeling rooted in myself and my values? on a daily basis? If so, I feel like I'm successful.
Yes, thank you for saying that. And also, I feel like you have said it in the beginning of this conversation of like, you have built this life and this business that is aligned to your values and your, your morals, ethics, and that feels in alignment. And it's so wonderful to hear all of your stories that, led you to where you are now. And I'm sure there's a lot of hard work that was involved in it, but you were able to build this business and life and a meaningful work that you do, that is in alignment. So I love hearing that. Last question, I promise, is where do you see yourself and also maybe your business, your retreat center kind of going in the future? Is there any direction you're headed, goal that you have? I know some people don't like using the word goal, but where do you think it's headed in the next, 5-10 years?
People ask me all the time, do you think you want to expand? Do you want to franchise? How do you want to grow? I am so content with where we currently are and that I'm able to have my fingerprints on the guest experience, on each one that comes through the door. They can feel me even when I'm not there, my vision for what I want this center to be. So I know that we have to continue to evolve to some degree. But as far as the business is concerned, I just want to keep it small. Yeah. I don't want this to be so growth driven that this becomes a job and not something that is a joy for me to wake up and do every day. Even the accounting, even the emails and updating the website, all that kind of tedious stuff. It's really easy to see a direct line between those things that I'm doing and our guests having a positive transformational experience. Mm-hmm. So in that sense, in 5 to 10 years, I hope that we are still offering the same high quality boutique, curated experience that we're offering now. And based on my values, I don't see us changing too much.
Thank you, Will, for sharing that. I feel like I can continue asking more and more questions to you, but because I want to be respectful of the time. It was so wonderful that I got to, have this conversation with you. I got to hear the journey of somebody who had a dream of starting a retreat center and had a vision, and you did it, and you just answered. You have this thing that is really aligned with your value and it's running successfully. And that makes I'm very inspired by you. So thank you so much for sharing your story. And I just love hearing that there's so much heart and soul behind this retreat center that you have built and the community that you have built. It's not just like, checklist, or it's not about making this much money. And I can really feel from this conversation, there's a lot of heart and soul that is there. And you are really doing this because you love it. And also we really want to share with others. So thank you so much for such an amazing work that you do and the impact that you make in your community. Could you tell the listener how they can reach you, how they can find out about the retreat center, or any upcoming offerings, any way they can find out more about you?
Sure. So our social media is Suan Sati. That's SUANSATI. Same website, swansati.com. And yeah, as I mentioned before, we do guest house style retreats from May until the end of September, yoga teacher training courses in June and October every year. And then from winter from November until the end of February, we do our winter retreats. So yeah, we'd love to have y'all come join us. And I said that it's affordable. Really, it's affordable. It's like for 6 days, 5 nights, it's like $300 all inclusive. So, wow. I mean, that's it, out the door. So yeah, it can be. Yoga doesn't have to be for only, the incredibly wealthy. Yoga retreats. Yoga is for all, and we hope to share that vision with some of you if you can come join us.
Thank you. Oh my God, that is, I haven't asked the price, but that's so you're really making it affordable and accessible to a lot of people. So thank you for that. And if you do end up, or any of the listeners end up going to the retreat center, they might be able to see Amy, right? Amy's going to be working there for a little bit.
She will be with us. She'll be in and out. She is wonderful, and we're just so blessed to have her. So, if you get to be here at Suan Sati, that's a blessing. And if you get to practice with her, it's like, just the cherry on top. She's wonderful.
Wonderful. You know what? Next time I come visit my father in Thailand, I'll definitely want to make time to come visit your place. So thank you so much.
Thank you. You are invited. We would love to have you. Please come up.
Yes. There you have it. I hope you enjoyed the conversation I had with Will about his journey, and I loved talking to him because he also traveled quite a bit and lived in another country for many years. And as you could tell from the conversation, I can relate a lot with some of the stories he had in terms of traveling and living in another country. But I learned so much from, listening to him share about him just following his dream and vision of opening a yoga retreat center in Thailand. It almost sounds too far of a fetch, or the dream that is a little bit too far of a fetch. If I think about wanting to start and build a retreat center in Southeast Asia, but he did it, and he really had his vision, and he followed his vision, and he continued to work with his values and morals, and he created this life for himself that sounds amazing. And you can hear from the conversation at the end, he's very happy with what he has built, and he just wants to continue doing what he is doing with his business, not really trying to grow or build it into something bigger. He's very content with what he has built, and I think that is something so wonderful to hear, to be really content and happy with what is. That can be such a great reminder for myself, because even with running my own little tiny online yoga studio business, sometimes I get caught up in wanting to grow, wanting to scale, wanting to become bigger, wanting to make more money, wanting to this and that and that. Like I feel like I'm always reaching for more rather than actually celebrating what I have, how far I have come, and really appreciating what I have now, appreciating the students I have now, appreciating the small business that I have now. So I think that was such a great reminder for myself, as well as if anyone's interested in ever starting your own yoga retreat center in Southeast Asia or another part of the world, I think his stories are so inspiring to hear, because it shows you how possible it is. It can be done. Not to say it's easy. Like Will said, it wasn't easy, but he doesn't want to take anything back. He is very happy with what he has built for himself, and that's so amazing and great to hear. It really made me want to go visit his retreat center, Suan Sati in Chiang Mai. I hope anybody listening to this, if you have any chance to go to Thailand, or maybe you live near in that part of the world, definitely go check out his retreat center, his offering, teacher training, winter retreat, all of that offering he has. And I love how affordable and accessible he keeps his offering to be. So if you do end up visiting his retreat center and want to let me know about your experience, I would love to hear from you. So you can always reach out to me. And as always, if you enjoyed this episode, or you're just enjoying listening to this podcast in general, I would love for you to share this podcast, this episode, with your friends, your family, your community. And if you have any questions for me, feedback for me, or anything that really stood out to you, anything that inspired for you from this episode or any other episode from this podcast, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I love hearing from listeners. And you can reach out to me through my Instagram at Reika Yoga, or through my website, www.reikayoga.com. Thank you always for listening to this podcast, and I will speak to you next week. Have a great day.